Very good day, class. Today we're gonna have two presenters on curriculum and learning materials development. For the first presenter will be Mas Maman and Ms. Kumara. By no further ado, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, good noon, class, all of my friends here. As me and Mas Saman would like to present about the history and the models of ELT, English Language Teaching curriculums. And can you see my slide, right?
See.
Yes. So here are the table of contents, the things that we would like to tell you, we would like to present. The first one is the historical curriculum globally. So it is about the curriculum that generally, that globally happen in the universe, in this world. And the second one is the historical curriculum in Indonesia. It's like the curriculum in Indonesia that always change according to the government, yeah. And then the third one is the models of ELT curriculum, and the fourth implication for graduate student, and the last one is question and answer session. And for the the one who will present first is Mas Maman. So I would like to give Mas Maman the opportunity. Times is yours, Mas Maman.
Okay, is my voice clear? Can everyone in Zoom hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the confirmation. Next slide, please. So in order to understand deeper about the English language teaching, we absolutely have to know about how the curriculum is constructed. That's already discussed by the previous presenters for our last week meetings. And today we are going to look at how the curriculum developed initially in the global context and then in the local context. So, as I have said, that today we're going to look at how the curriculum developed for the English language teachings, initially in the global context, and then after we learn how the curriculum developed by their each current era, or the 90s to the postmodern or the 21st century, we are going to talk about the curriculum development in the local context, that is Indonesia. So for the historical analysis of ELT curriculum models in Indonesia, as I've said, the design and implementation of curriculum for ELT is not a static endeavor. It's always developing, it's always improving, and rather it represents a dynamic field perpetually shaped by evolving pedagogical theories, shifting global needs, and localized educational policies. So these are the three factors that as the factors that makes why we need to improve our curriculum or change or make improvement based on the needs in the English language teaching, based on the pedagogical theories, shifting global needs, and also localized educational policies. And this comprehensive understanding is needed so we can understand deeper about how the curriculum are developed. Next slide, please. Basically, there are 5 periods. The first one is the 19th century to the 20th, mid-20th, 20th, and also the 21st centuries. 90th, we have grammar translation method dominating, and then after that, we have a direct method. After the direct method, in the mid-20th centuries, we have audiolingual method. We will talk about this in a detail after this. And the 20th theory, we have communicative language teaching. And for the 21st century, or the current era, we have the post method, along with the emphasis or the principles of practicality, and possibility. Next slide, please. For the grammar translation methods, basically this method appears or most famous or the the most used in the 19th century. It has the core focus of teaching grammar rules and vocabulary through memorization and translation. And also, this curriculum also emphasizes on reading and writing. And also, as the result, speaking and listening were neglected. So the key features for the grammar translation method is, among others, is the first one is the classes conducted mostly in the learner's native language.
Apanya?
So the teaching of the foreign language mainly is being taught using the native language. And for the second key features is the emphasis that is on accuracy and formal correctness. So the focus is more on the grammar rules. And the next key feature is the text used were often classical literature. So, for example, the works from Shakespeare and others world-renowned writers or authors, the classical literature that they produce is being used as the teaching materials by the teacher in the classroom. So they learn the English language using the classical literatures that the English language itself has. So for the next discussion about the grammar translation method is the educational philosophy. The grammar translation method view language learning as a way to develop intellectual discipline and not in communication, or not to be used in a communicative way. So basically, it's just how to understand the literature, and it enhance the intellectual discipline of the students, not necessarily to learn the English language to use in a communicative purposes. And the second educational philosophy is that it is mainly teacher-centered and book-driven instruction. Of course, when teacher use literature as the teaching materials, it will also use book in the form of book as instruction. And therefore, it has the main criticisms for the grammar translation method is that it lacks of communicative competence. Therefore, students could not use English in a real context. Moving on to the next era, we have direct method. Next slide, please. Moving on to the direct method in the early 20th century, I believe. So the direct method has the core focus in learning through direct exposure to the target language. It involves no translation. Basically, the teachers directly produce in front of the class, watched by the students, how to produce English language in the spoken mainly. And it also has the core focus of emphasis on oral communication and pronunciation. So it's kind of improvement from the last curriculum, which is the grammar translation method in terms of the communicative purposes. The direct method also has some key features. The first one is teaching vocabulary and grammar in context, not only using the book or the literature materials for the students' learnings, but also this curriculum incorporates the teaching of vocabulary and grammars in context. The second one is the use of real life situation, objects, and visuals. So in here we also have some improvement in the incorporation of real life situations, objects, and visual that students might encounter in their real daily conversation if they want to use English, so they can be more adaptable. Okay, moving on to the next curriculum, most famous in the mid-20th century, we have our bilingual method. It has the core focus of, first, language learning as a habit formation through repetition and drill. So basically, the teachers ask students to repeat after the teachers, and also do some drillings on how to pronounce some expression or sentences. The next core focus is also focus on the structure, pattern practice, and accuracy. So while the teacher giving example and in return student have to repeat after the teacher will be able to take a look at students and maybe give correction if necessary. And it has some key features versus dialogues and drills for memorization. Through this having dialogues or role play or drills techniques, students will also be able to memorize some vocabulary, also with the meaning using the translation technique. The next key features is the minimal use of native language. So basically, in this audiolingual methods, the teacher will try to give as much as he or she able to in the target language, which is the English language. And the next key feature is errors considered harmful or to be avoided. That's why the first time students make some errors on how to read what the teachers, the example that's given by the teachers will usually immediately correct the students, of course, with soft or not to be, or not to make the student to be discouraged. The audiolingual method curriculum has theoretical basis on the behaviorism. Is proposed by Skinner's. That's the more pattern that you repeat it, the more you internalize, or in other words, learning by repetition and reinforcement. So basically, students are asked to make a repetition, and by the repetition that they do, the knowledge will be internalized and also reinforced. The next theoretical basis is structural linguistics. It sees language as a system of patterns. So by doing the drilling, the student will also internalize not only the vocabulary, the meaning through translation, but also the patterns that usually the native speaker use in delivering some expressions. However, the audiolingual method also have some main criticisms. The first one is to produce students who could mimic sentences but lack creativity and fluency. So basically, you only make your students to be, sorry to say, a parrot, but in terms when they have to produce some expression based on the situation or the context suitable or needed or that they face, they usually do not able to. The second criticism is that ignore meaning, context, and communicative needs. That's why they only memorize or internalize some patterns, some expression that's being repeated by the teachers, and they have to repeat after the teacher. But in terms when they need to make some communicative competence, they are not able to do that. Next slide, please. We are going to talk about the communicative language teachings. It's most famous between the 1970s until the 1990s. Basically, it's the same like before, as an upgrade from the previous curriculum. This communicative language teaching also tried to tackle the disadvantages on the implementation of audiolingual method. The communicative language teaching, or CLT, it has the core focus of developing communicative competence, of course, and not just grammatical accuracy. And the second one is teaching English for real-world communication and interaction. Using this focus, usually when the students make some error, the teacher will not directly make correction, but as long as the interlocutors between students or between the students and teachers is still meaningful or still comprehensible, the teacher will allow it. So basically, just use the language to communicate to each other. And the second core focus is teaching English for real-world communication and interaction. So the student will also have to put in mind about the context and the situational awareness that have maybe to have some influence on the expression or the utterance that they have to produce. The CLD have some key features. The first one is the activities such as role plays, group discussion, and problem-solving tasks. So by using these activities, the student will be able to implement communication in English that simulate the real-world interactions. The second key feature is grammar thought as a means to communication, not as an end itself. So it's radically different with the first curriculum, that is the grammar translation method. That's the only emphasis. The students learn structures and they master grammar well, but in the downside is that they don't have the ability to communicate. The communicative language teaching also teach grammar, but it's seen as a means to communication. So to be able to make a meaningful communication, or to be able to understand what the other person tried to communicate to us, the grammar is also an important aspect. And it also has some key features of authentic materials, such as newspapers, videos, and etc. are encouraged. So basically, by exposing the students with these materials that they might find in the real world, they will be able to be more familiar on how to produce some communicative competence. And it has a theoretical basis based on Himes 1972 for the concept of communicative competence, and also learners as active participants in meaning making. So not only as passive learners, but also an active participants or active learners, guided or facilitated by the teachers. However, the communicative language teaching also has some main criticism. The first one is the implementation. It is difficult, especially in exam-oriented or a large class context. Of course, one teacher doesn't have the capacity to, supervise each communication between students, whether they make some errors or are they already using correct grammars or not. And the next criticism is the cultural mismatch. Usually the Western classroom interaction styles not always appropriate globally. So it lacks of local context or sociocultural context. Next slide, please. And the last one, in the historical development of curriculum in ELT, we have task post method pedagogy. It's most famous in the 21st century. It has some core focus of rejecting the idea of one best method, and also emphasizes teacher autonomy, local relevance, and learner empowerment. So basically, the teacher has some degree of freedom to implement the best method based on their observation in the classroom, and also they have some degree of autonomy on how to facilitate the learning, and also to choose the appropriate materials based on the local relevance that suitable for their context. And also it still using the principle from the communicative competence, which is the learners are seen as active participants. In here it says that we have to empower learner. The post-method pedagogy also has some key principles based on Kumara Di Velo 2001. The first one is particularity. It means that methods must fit local context and cultures, as I've said before. The second one is practicality. It means that teachers generate their own theories from practice. So usually different area results in the different context, and therefore the practice will be also need to be adjusted. Therefore, maybe there will be a lot of theories that can arise from these multivarious background differences. And the third one is the possibility. It means that teaching should address social justice and learner identity, not to be taken too far, but maybe the social justice and learner identity here means like even they are coming from the same local background, or not that radically different, but of course each individual of the students still have their own unique characteristics, and they bring their own identity that the teacher should take into account. Next is the educational philosophy. That's the post-method pedagogy is based on. The first one is teachers as reflective practitioners, not method followers. So based on the classroom practice or the method that they implement in the classroom, the teacher will assess the results, and they make a reflective assessment and which part or which session they need to improve, or which part that still can be improved further also. And Second one is the curriculum is adaptable, critical, and context sensitive. So there is no one best curriculum or one best method to be taught in the class, because every classroom is unique and every student is unique. It also has many criticisms. The first one is hard to defend operationally, because sometimes it's based on what the teachers want or what the teachers see best suit the classroom. It also requires highly trained and reflective teachers. So the teachers also has to possess some competence, like they have to be able to assess, doing self-assessment, they have to be observant, they have to be adaptable in choosing the best teaching materials or best teaching techniques. The last one is risk of inconsistency if not supported institutionally. So if there is no supervision from the higher benchmarkers, or how you say, benchmarks, and yeah, the teacher will sometimes they will do the teaching and learning activities maybe as they please, which is allowed but not that far. And I think that's all for the historical development of curriculum in the global context. Moving on to the historical curriculum development in the local context, that is the Indonesia, will be presented by Ms. Kumara Lalita Harendra.
Next slide. So, okay. So since we've been talking about the historical curriculum globally, and that's you are still with us, right? Right, in the Zoom, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Then what am I going to say? What am I going to present is about the historical development in ELT curriculum in Indonesia. It is actually there are so many curriculum, but then in the bahan ajar I would like to only present 5 of it, because there is since 1960-an, 1980-an, and it is too long, and I don't think there is someone here who experienced it, right? Because yeah, maybe that's Pak Saiful or someone older that experience. But here we start from curriculum 1994. And it is about the structural approaches with the syllabus organized around grammar and vocabulary list. And after curriculum 1994, the government changed it to KBK, competency-based curriculum, in 2004. It is about the communicative competence and student-centered learning. Student-centered learning, remember. And then the second one, this is the first time I experience curriculum, because I grew up with KTSP, ya, curriculum-based curriculum. It is about adapt curricula to local context, 2006. And then for my experiences, this is the first time too. The curriculum ke-13, 2013 curriculum, is the first time in my era in senior high school, if I'm not mistaken. That's the first time. The thing that I remember that my first curriculum ke-13 is that I don't choose between IPA or IPS. That's the thing that I remember from the curriculum. But since here we are talking about the ELT, and it is about the emphasize a scientific approach, observing, questioning, experimenting, associating, and communicating. The last one is KUMER, or Curriculum Merdeka, 2022 until now. It is about the contextualize English materials, adopt digital resources. Next slide, please. So, I would like to read this first. As stated by Saukah, curriculum 94. Can I say it curriculum 94 because it is just normally that I say it gitu, gampang. Curriculum 94, the English syllabus was created as an update to the 1984 syllabus. That the thing that I said, yeah. So before 1994, that there is a lot of curriculum before, but since it will be too long, so we are not putting it in the PPT, which was the previous English curriculum for Indonesian lower and upper level secondary school. The incorporation of the communicative approach into the syllabus framework and communicative syllabus as the primary characteristic of the update version. The curriculum 94 placed a strong emphasis on teaching language structurally, with curricula mostly structured on lists on vocabulary and grammar rules. Remember here, this is the point of this curriculum 94. In curriculum 94, the ELT conducted with only remembering the vocabulary and grammar rules. So the student asked to memorize and memorize about that vocabulary and grammar rules. English was seen as a discipline where students were expected to understand linguistic patterns and forms rather than as a communicative tool. Grammar rules and translation exercise were usually the main focus of lesson, and pupils were required to memorize the list of vocabulary in order to pass tests. It is actually not wrong, yeah. This is just right at the time. Maybe in 94 era, not many, maybe loh ya, maybe I don't know. Maybe in curriculum 94 era, there are not a lot of people who go abroad, maybe, or so English is just, yeah, the one who want to learn aja gitu. So the vocabulary and grammar rules, memorizing vocabulary and grammar rules is a must for them. And it is just so boleh lah gitu, like that. So the next slide. So we are moving to KBK 2004. The introduction of the competency-based curriculum KBK in 2004 marked a significant shift in Indonesia's educational system. As explained by Fitriani and friends, that the 2004 curriculum, or commonly known as KBK, is a competency-based curriculum aimed at developing the knowledge, understanding, skill, value, attitudes, and interests of student participant in accordance with their competencies. Here is the thing, that curriculum 94, the student were asked to memorize vocabulary and grammar. In curriculum KBK, it is increase the awareness of English. So the student is no longer just memorizing the vocabulary and the grammar structure. They move forward. So they try to speak more, or there is a lot of activities using the KBK like that, using the English in KBK. KBK offer a greater emphasis to student-centered learning and communicative ability than the previous curriculum, which was more content-oriented. In order to encourage students to not only learn materials, but also to build abilities that they might use in practical situation, the curricula were created to emphasize on competencies rather than just a content. So the thing that I imagine is in 2004, people aware about the going abroad more than the 94 era. So they asked, the government asked the student not only memorizing, but what if someday you go abroad, guys, like that? So you have to practice your English, you have to practice your vocabulary, your pronunciation, your grammar. So maybe you can go abroad, maybe like that. That's the thing that I imagine in 2000 and 2004. So it is emphasized in student-centered learning and communicative ability than the previous curriculum. The next slide, please. Here is the KTSP. The KTSP, or school-based curriculum, in 2006. It is only 2 years from the KBK to KTSP. Why? I don't know. Ask the government, yeah. Ask the government, yeah. in the KTSP in 2006, teachers and school now have more flexibility to modify the curriculum to fit the surrounding environment. This curriculum provides teachers in English lesson to the opportunity to select resources and teaching strategies that would suit best their students with the aim of the establishing a more successful learning environment. Each school in the KTSP system is empowered to modify its own curriculum. In accordance with the content standard, passing standard, and the other two components of the government design. So, in 2006, the government give the framework, give the idea. So it's just the idea, the standard, and the school can make it their own. What is the best way to teach their student? This is, I think, the best. I mean, this is the good one, because you can imagine the student in Jakarta and Yogyakarta will not have the same materials as the student who maybe in Papua or maybe in Kendari, right? Yes, Kendari, right? Maybe just maybe. I mean, so it's, I don't think about the quality about the persatuan. What is persatuan? It's about the unity. I don't think about the unity, because as I said before, in which class I forgot, that not every student need to learn English. You know, I mean, the one who in 3T area will not aware about the English. So I think KTSP is just right. Is the good one, is the good curriculum, because students from the Jakarta or Bali or Jogja can have their own materials that can melampaui the student from the others, or maybe from the out of Java, maybe like that. See, yeah. Next slide. And the next curriculum is K13. The K13 emphasize the use of scientific approach, which involves stages such as observing, questioning, experimenting, associating, and communicating. Instead of depending only on rote memorization, this model push learner to actively generate knowledge through inquiry and discovery. The curriculum also integrated character educational a lot of weight, with the goal of developing moral principle and social responsibility in addition to intellectual growth. K13 instructors to create learning activities that promote high order thinking, or HOTS abilities, including critical thinking or problem solving within the framework of English learning teaching. So the things that I remember from K13 is that the teacher this curriculum is student-based learning, student-centered learning too. The student asked to have to do many things, and the teacher just giving the instruction, or maybe just like us in kuliahan, right? Something like that. So because the teacher asked order us to have this one, this about have to this activity and this activity, but then the student will do their activity by their own. So they looking for their material by their own, or like that. Boy, that's K13. At first it just confusing, because I think I said it but I think that's my own opinion. The teacher is always talking to us. The teacher is always standing in front of class and giving the materials and something. But in K13, the teacher is not doing that, and it's just not right for me at the time. But then, harus begitu. And then the next slide. And this one, ya Allah, this one is the Kumar, guys. Did you know the Kumar is 20 2022 until now. The Kumar emphasized adaptability, project-based learning, and the incorporation of profil pelajar Pancasila, Pancasila student profile. The development of well-rounded students who demonstrate values like critical thinking, creativity, independence, teamwork, and a strong sense of citizenship is emphasized in this curriculum. In contrast to earlier curricula, Merdeka gives educators and schools more freedom to contextualize educational resources, such as those utilized in ELT. The things that should be highlighted in curriculum Merdeka is that about that one, the critical thinking, creativity, independence, teamwork, and a strong sense of citizenship. That is the main idea of curriculum Merdeka. But then, as we know, that's you record it. Yeah, okay. That's about the curriculum Merdeka, ya guys ya. If you want to ask about the curriculum Merdeka, you can ask our friend who teach now because they teach in curriculum Merdeka. And in curriculum Merdeka, as it is said that the student should have the creativity and independence and teamwork, because in curriculum Merdeka, the curriculum asks the student to have more showing up about their project, about their project, and so on. Good, never mind. Yes, and this is the model of ELT. So this is the model of ELT, but in generally, biasanya begini, like that. So the structural curriculum model, it is based on grammar points and vocabulary list. The second one is situational curriculum model, everyday situation in daily. It is like, if we learn about, it's like socioculturalism. Socioculturalism. It's like that. Nah, this one is the notional function curriculum model. Notion, time, quantity, function, requesting, apologizing. So in this model, the student has to is given the material about the how to requesting something, how to apologizing, how to asking something like that. And the competency-based curriculum model focus on real life context. And the task-based curriculum model is communicative task. Genre-based curriculum model is about the text type. It is like the narrative text, descriptive text, and so on. And so on. And content and language integrated learning is learning instruction. That's all. This is about the implication for graduate student. It means that the thing that we can muhasabah, the thing that you can muhasabah. First, it fosters critical awareness of how educational policies and method influence classroom practice. The second one is it enables teacher to evaluate curricula more effectively. Third is it empowers students to design context appropriate curricula. And that's all. That's all for us, from me. Please remember the Pak Saiful said in the previous meeting that every curriculum actually is good. Every curriculum is just set to be good, set to have a goals. It's just how the government do, how the implication. Just same with, if I can say about the anak hukum tidak pernah salah. Yang salah adalah yang menjalankan hukum tersebut. The same goes to the curriculum. Curriculum tidak pernah salah. It's just how the government wrote the curriculum itself. That's all. Thank you. So the next one is question and answer. Question and answer. I hope there is no question. Thank you. I give it back to Mas Ikhwan, please.
Okay, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for the first presenters, Ms. Kumara and Mr. Rahman. Okay, we will gather the questions first. So both of you in class and in Zoom meetings, go raise your hands if you have questions. If there's no question, then I will ask. I will ask myself. One of the slides that you uh, gave is about audio something. Audio one, yeah, the ALM, the one before that, ALM, audiolingual method. Um, Even though this method is considered as the past method, I still think this is still relevant to us. Um, One of the language teacher that I see on social media still recommend to mimic or to imitate other people in enhancing their language or speaking skills ability. How do you see this thing still relevant to us even today?
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mr. Evan. So just to uh, make your question clear, basically you are asking how do you see the audiolingual method of its relevance with today's progression, right? In terms of media, technology, and also classroom language teaching.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we will gather the questions first, and now we move to the second presenter, Ms. Samalia.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ikhwan. I would like to check my voice first. Anyone can hear my voice clearly?
Yes,
All
Miss.
right. How about other friends in Zoom? Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity. I am Amaliatul Hidayah with my partner, Herlina Cahyaningrum, from the group 3 would like to present about the influence of learning theories. The theories itself, they are behaviorism, connectivism, constructivism, CLT, communicative language teaching, and PASS method, especially on English language teaching in today's curriculum. Next slide, please. Okay, in this presentation, we would like to give an introduction and the behaviorism and its influence, and all about behaviorism. So, and the second is connectivism theory, and going to constructivism, continue in communicative language teaching or CLT.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Miss Amalia. So, curriculum design in ELT reflect assumption about language, learning, and education, balancing the global standard with local needs. Learning theories such as behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, communicative approach, and post-method perspective provide essential framework for shaping teaching goals and practice. Understanding these theories enable educators and policymakers to design flexible, content-sensitive curricula that prepare learners not only for exam but also for meaningful participation in global and local communities, especially in English teaching process. Next, please. Okay, so I will explain about the behaviorism and its influence on ELT. So behaviorism conceives learning as a mechanistic process of a habit formation that occurs through a triadic chain. You can see in here there is a stimulus, response, and reinforcement. Learning in this view is a measurable change in observable behavior and not an internal cognitive event. And errors in here are undesirable because they indicate incorrect conditioning. Therefore, immediate correction and reinforcement of accurate response are essential. The teachers as authority, learner as passive imitators, focus on functioning as a controller of stimulus, while learner are passive participants imitating linguistic models provided to them. And the application to ELT, there is an audio-lingual method, AELM, with structural syllabus behaviors through underpin the ELM, which is employed structured syllabus progressing from simple to complex pattern. Through drills, substitution, pattern practice, and memorization, learners develop automaticity in target language forms assessment, focus on accuracy, focus on assessment. Next, please. And the strengths and the limitation of the behaviorism. The strength is behaviorism offers clarity, structures, and predictability, which is advantage in large classes or for beginners learners, and the limitation it focus on accuracy only, learners passive, neglect communication. It's meaning that it reduces learning to mechanical repetition, discourse creativity, and neglect communicative competence and learner autonomy. And the outcomes, there is a limited long-term fluency or creativity in language use. For the contemporary relevance, although considered traditional, behaviorism principles in modern era have a computer-assisted language learning, or we call it CALL environment, such as Duolingo, which rely on repetition and reward mechanism. Behaviorism techniques also remain effective in pronunciation and grammar drills, as well as exam-oriented instruction, emphasizing control and accuracy. Next, please. Next, we will discuss about. I will present about the cognitivism and its influence on ELT. Cognitivism marks a paradigm shift from external behavior to internal mental process. It views learning as an active, goal-directed cognitive activity involving attention, memory, reasoning, and problem-solving. Learners are not passive recipients but construct knowledge by integrating new information with prior schemata. Errors are no longer stigmatized but are regarded as evidence of hypothesis testing and conceptual growth. And the application to ELT cognitivism approach emphasizes the sequencing of linguistic input according to cognitive complexity and communicative salience. Teachers scaffold learner understanding by designing activities that encourage inductive reasoning, enabling students to discover grammatical rules through example-driven exploration, and formative assessment and feedback mechanism are vital to monitor progress and support ongoing cognitive development. And next, please. There is a strength and limitation of cognitivism. The strength is encourage deep learning, learner autonomy, and long-term retention through meaningful processing rather than rote memorization. And the limitation is the social dimension of learning. Appearing overly abstract or theoretical, its success heavily depends on teacher expertise, and pedagogy awareness. And for the contemporary relevance, cognitivism underlines explicit grammar instruction and form-focused approach, providing the theoretical foundation for text-based learning (TBL) that incorporates problem-solving. It also influenced second language acquisition or SLA research, notably in concepts such as working memory, notizing, and information processing. Next, please. Next, there is a constructivism and its influence on ELT. Constructivism views learning as an active, contextualized, and socially mediated process where learners construct the meaning through interaction, reflection, and negotiation. Knowledge is not transmitted but constructed collaboratively with authentic context. Teachers shift from being source of knowledge to facilitator, mediators, and CO learner, creating an environment that promotes discovery and personal engagement with content. The application to ELT, constructivism translate TBL or text-based learning and project-based learning framework that prioritize meaningful tests, collaboration, and critical inquiry. Authentic materials drawn from real-life context foster relevance and communicative competence. Evaluation focus on performance-based assessment, including portfolio, project, and presentation, reflecting learner ability to apply knowledge in dynamic context. And the strengths and the limitation of constructivism, there is the strengths cultivates the critical thinking, creativity, learner autonomy, and intercultural sensitivity, aligning well with 21st century education paradigm. And the limitation requires high teacher adaptability and may be challenging in large or examination-driven classroom. It's less structured. Nature can confuse learners seeking explicit rules. And the contemporary relevance, constructivism underpins collaborative online learning platforms such as forum, shared document, and uh, yes, such as like this in Zoom discussion in online era, and informs nation curriculum reforms, promoting project and inquiry-based approach. It resonates with critical pedagogy, connecting language education with issue of identity, cultures, and social justice. Next will be communicative language teaching, and it will explain it by Miss Leah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Herlina. I'm going to continue. For the fourth theory is about communicative language teaching and its influence. First, the key principle of communicative language teaching, here I will call it as CLT. CLT itself is about teaching approach that puts communication at the center of learning process. Unlike a traditional method that focuses heavily on memorizing the structure of the pattern in grammar, in CLT, it's emphasized the ability of learner to use language meaningfully in real life. And the key principle, the first one, is the grammatical competence. The grammatical competence means that the student expected to be master of vocabulary, grammar, and also the pronunciation. And second is social linguistic competence. It's the skill to use language appropriately depending on the context, participant, and social norm. And the third is discourse competence. This is the ability to create a coherent, connected speech or writing, such as conversation, writing an essay, and the report. And number four is strategic competence. It's also correlate with verbal communication strategy or non-verbal communication strategy. Student or learner need to communicate and use the strategy to be able to fluently. And the application to the ELT, CLT, the first is communication syllabi. And the communication syllabi, its courses are often organized around functions, skill, and also the tasks rather than just a grammar. And the next is emphasis on fluency over the accuracy. It's also shows that learner need to communicate fluency instead of for the grammar and the pattern itself. And the third is communicative activities. The communicative activities in the classroom activity focus on real communication through role plays, interview, and forum group discussion. And number four is need-based objective. It means that in CLT, promote need analysis and the process of identifying why learner need the language, in what context they will use it. All right, the communicative language teaching, the strength and the limitation of it. The first one is the strength. It's practical proficiency. Once again, I would like to say communicative language teaching is emphasized in how student or how learner practice their English proficiency in speaking, in communicate, and in produce what they thought and what they need to speak. And then the second is increased motivation. Why it's increased motivation? Because learner live and need to communicate with other learner who can compete, who can producing something in spoken or in communicative process. So they increase their motivation to do more fluent than before. And then the third is learner autonomy. It means that learner first to encourage their knowledge, especially to produce a sentence or an utterance. And beside the strength, also the limitation. The first is like lack of accuracy because they are emphasized in fluency, not the accuracy. So somehow the grammar and the pattern will be left behind. And then the second is assessment challenges. That's because it's communicative, it's verbal communication mostly. So teachers, it's not easily visual, interactive, or the discourse skill to assess. And the last one is difficult in implementation. It's need the creativity of the teacher as the facilitator at the scaffolding process, and also the student need to increase their ability because, like what I said, the assessment challenges cannot measure in as easy as text-based. And then how about the contemporary relevance in nowadays? The first is alignment with the global standard of CFR. Yep, the global adoption of CFR itself has solidified the CLT, which means the CFR and communicative language teaching, they are emphasizing and how the participate or the student or the learner communicate as an active participant in the teaching process. And the second is the adaptation for online learning. Like as we know nowadays, as for when as student, we have Elena and Sikadu, and also another e-learning. Like nowadays, we use Zoom as part or tools in transferring knowledge. Next slide, please. For the last theory is past method paradigm. There are three key principles. The first one is the particularity. It's mean the particular the topic that the student need to employ in creating or producing and to enhance their communications, their speaking and speaking, writing, reading, and listening comprehension in English learning. And then the second is practically, student or the learner need to practice, which promote the idea that teacher can generate the theory, not only the textbook theory that already used day by day, all decades, but the teacher also have to not only can, but they have to encourage to do the more creative to create more a method that match with nowadays learner characteristic. And then the third is the possibility that recognize the socio-political condition and also the cultural dimension of the language, which means the theory of the materials that will collaborate and unity with the student background. And then how about the application to the ELT? In the past method paradigm, ELT mostly an adaptive theory, and it's reflective and also responsive to the both learner and the context material. It made the teacher doing adaptive learning to the student because each of learner has a different capacity, has a different competence, especially in English language. And teacher also need to do a reflective, not only emphasizing in the theory, in the method that already used in all decade. Next, please. Same as what I say, the strength, the first is the adaptability. This is post-method paradigm, the adaptability of the teacher as scaffolding of the one who transfer the knowledge into the student. They need to be adopt and adapt to the new or the especially in this technology era. And beside that, the empowerment of teacher, the teacher need to adapt like what I say. That's already the same. And then how about the limitation? Nowadays, it's really challenging for novice teacher, especially for those who has no many or only a few years of experience, so they cannot find that not already found out the best theory or the best method to transferring knowledge into the learner. And then how about the contemporary relevance? The first one is to personalized learning, and second, critical pedagogy, and the last one is teacher as transformative intellectual. Here, teacher roles as the transformer. I mean, not transformer in the movie, but it's to transfer knowledge onto the student. But beside as the transformative intellectual, they are need to facilitate the student to enhance more ability in English learning process. So that's why teacher more push the student to be critic. And nowadays in deep learning curriculum, the government also said student need to be deep dive in critical thinking and also learn and took many subject topic and same especially in their own background. So it's two ways two style in one ways, which is the transforming knowledge, and the second is the sustainability of their own culture. And the personalized learning, it made the student to adapt and adopt in this technological era, because learning is not only in transferring knowledge in traditional style, but in nowadays, in currently curriculum, learners need to encourage themselves both inside and outside of classroom. And that's it, our presentation. Thank you so much for paying attention. I would like to give it back into the Mr. Moderator, and we are very open into the opinion or any questions related to the topic. Thank you.
Okay, two presenters has been presents their slides. It is now time for the questions and answers. For the second presenter, raise your hand if you have a questions or suggestions. Okay, Mrs. Maulina, the floor is yours. The time is yours.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to ask a question to Leah and Herlina's team. As we know that currently people are focusing on the deep learning era, right? But this goal requires developing high order competencies like critical thinking and creativity. While if we compare it to CLT focus on practical skills for real world application. So which one do you think of these two goals is more important for the developing or for the practice of our curriculum? Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Are you guys ready to answer the questions, or it's will be answered directly from Miss Amalia?
All right, thank you, Mr. Iwan and Miss Lina. I would like to make it more clear. If I'm not mistaken, Miss Lina asking me which one is the more theory that switch on nowadays curriculum, especially in deep learning. Am I right?
There are among.
Okay, so
I'm
in
sorry.
my point of view, especially for five theory, all of them is really correlate in our deep learning. But the most suitable for me is the last theory, which is post method paradigm. Why? Because the post method paradigm is combining like the whole theory that I already mentioned the first, and the post method paradigm is not only about the practically, but also the particularly the topic itself, and uh, need the teacher and student active and creative in a classroom process. Because we are teaching language not only about the practice, but also in theory and how we are as a teacher make a student understand what the material and what the main point of the material. Does my answer reply you clearly, Miss Lina?
All right, I'm still grasping, but can you explain more? Because I was asking which one of these two goals between deep learning and CLT is more important and is more suitable for our curriculum, because we need better understanding in practical skills for real world application, which is it is CLT, but now we are focusing on deep learning. So do you think deep learning is really suitable and relevant for today's curriculum?
Okay, does the deep learning really suitable for today's learning? That's the point, Miss Lina? Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. Deep learning and CLT. The first one is the deep dive learning with the critical thinking of the student, and then the other one is CLT, which means emphasizing in communicative process. It's emphasized to the learner to be confident and brave to apply or to implement their ability in speaking and not a comprehension of English, but in deep dive, push the learner to push the critical thinking and how to manage classroom and how to enhance the classroom. Is that?
Exactly.
May I add something, Miss Leah?
Yes, please, Lina.
Um, Miss Lina was asked about which goals between the deep learning and CLT that more important for our curriculum. So, for me, I choose the deep learning because in the design of ELT curriculum, deep learning represents the ultimate educational goal, cultivating the learner critical, reflective, and integrative understanding of language, while CLT function as the principal pedagogy approach to achieve that goal through meaningful interaction and authentic language use. So that's all. Is that my answer your question, Miss Maulina?
So Herlina agreed that deep learning is more suitable and already suitable for our curriculum, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right. I was just asking for opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Lina. I will take it back to Mr. Ikhwan.
Okay. I think that's oh, it's Mr. Rahman will answer my question. Please, Mr. Rahman.
Okay, I'll try to give my best opinion regarding your questions. I believe I agree with your consideration that considered audiolingual method was one of the best method in its own era before the communicative competence or the communicative language teaching rise. And you asked about how do you see this method or some aspect of it that's still relevant to today. Of course, when we see how the curriculum itself developed, we could see the progression or the improvement from one curriculum to the others. So basically, the strength or the advantages of one curriculum usually is still maintained, and the weakness or the disadvantages of one curriculum usually try to uh, be improved, or try to the new curriculum will try to make it better or to overcome these weaknesses. So using the same principle, we could also, especially looking at the 21st century era, where the post method emphasizes on the teacher's autonomy and the local context, on how teachers choose the appropriate teaching and learning materials based on their classroom situation. Teachers could also use some of the principles from the audiolingual method that's still relevant today. For example, the ALM emphasizes on repetitive drillings or pronunciation or intonation accuracy. So, for example, if in Indonesia, for example, in the Tiga region where they cannot have an access to internet, or even the English exposure that they have is very, very limited, then the main source of how to produce or how to make an accurate pronunciation or intonation in English is, of course, the teacher. By using or implementing the audiolingual method, the teacher will still be able to have, I don't know, localized, that's the relevant with the audiolingual method. And also it also have some modern adaptation if you aware, for example, in the digital language labs and also pronunciation apps like Elsa or Duolingo, it's also use the ALM like repetition, because the application might instruct you to produce some word. They will give you the example first and then you repeat after them, and they will also give like some correction if you are making an errors, or the repetition that you make is far too different from the one that they intended. I think that's all. Maybe Miss Tata, if you wanna like to add something. No. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's already answered my question. Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Roman. And with that, we conclude this week's CLMD meetings. If you can give a round of applause to the presenters. Thank you all. Have a great day and see you next week.